Good morning and welcome to this Stadio School of Education online distance learning event. Our program today is focused on the B.Ed in Foundation phase, the Diploma in Grade R Teaching, and the Higher Certificate in Preschool Teaching. Our first session is MANR302, and this is for the January intake of the Diploma in Grade R Teaching with your lecturer, Dr. Colleen Thatcher. Good morning, Dr. Thatcher.
Sorry about the fan. Thanks for the coffee. Right, we're ready to go, I think.
Yes.
Simon, what do I do now? Because I want you to just talk to the students. So I see you all goody up. Can they all see me?
Yes, Dr. Thatcher, they can see and hear you. And if at any point you'd like to share your screen, you can do so when you're ready.
Okay, thank you. I see we've got 3 participants this morning. I know we have a group of 6. And I was in touch with everybody this week, and I received a response from 4 of you. This is your morning today, and I'm in charge, as you know, of your management module. I've just finished authoring the module, and I believe I've got the experience to guide you through this module, which is focused on grade R, but also the management and where you are at the moment in your teaching. I'm just hoping that when you finish this diploma, you will continue to study and enter our B.Ed Foundation phase degree and continue to study and be leaders in your own right one day, whether it be of a grade R unit or head of department of a foundation phase unit. And depending on your further studies, you might even want to be a principal of a primary school. So I want you to feel free this morning to chat. I want to hear what you feel about the module, any questions that you have. I'm going to go through the assignments very briefly from your assessment guide. You do have one that's coming up next week on health. And I think it was Megan, who lives in Moy River. She's already got her assignment ready to submit. So what I will do this weekend, I will open the portal, and if your assignments are ready, you can send them through to me. So I'm hoping that with this little small group, we can really make this module worthwhile for you. It's not just passing this module. It's about sharing with you the experiences and the knowledge that you need and why you need to do these particular things, actions when you are in management. So let's start with your queries. I see I've got 3 participants there. Please put your questions through and we will chat.
This is a reminder to our students watching. You've got 3 options. You can use the chat feature in the Zoom app, as well as the Q&A feature. The Q&A feature is really nice. If you're feeling shy, it will allow you to make your questions anonymously. And finally, if you'd like to, you can use the raise hand button. The raise hand button will alert us that you are willing to participate in the session, and we can use the feature to allow you to unmute your microphone and even turn your webcam on if you'd like, and it's a lovely way for us to interact. For our students watching on YouTube, please do feel free to make use of the chat and the comment features. We do have staff watching our YouTube streams. They will interact with you and we will relay your questions and comments here into the live stream.
Right, students, I see nobody's put up their hand as yet. I'm going to start with, let's take a quick look at the assessment task that I've set for you. There is one that's due next Saturday on the 12th of September. And I think it was Megan that said that she had got hers together. What I would like you to do, when you have a look at your assessment tasks, the key is to have a look at the background to the assessment, what is required, and then there will always be an assessment rubric that you need to take a look at and benchmark yourself against when you have completed your assignment to see that you have included all the elements and the criteria that are necessary for that particular assessment. You did do the health module, I think in your first year of study, And there is a health component in your study guide, in your prescribed book, and you will find that it's later on in the study unit. But the fact that you have had the experience of working through that health module and passing it in your first year, you can now look at health with more experience in the light of our COVID lockdown and the health and safety requirements that are being stepped up in the light of this pandemic. So I don't know whether anybody would like to raise any questions about this assignment or whether you are quite happy. I don't know how far you are. I know we're all busy in schools. So if there's no query on this assignment, we can move on. Please, I would like some feedback at this stage. I don't want this session to be me just talking to you. You need to feed back to me. So any questions on this health and safety assignment that's due next week for 50 marks? It's formative in terms of, I need your input on what's going on in your school. You need to look at the health and safety policy, and you need to look at the grade R and say, can this policy be improved to improve the health and safety and well-being of our grade R learners? Okay. Let's move on. We will come to the next assignment that's due. Towards the end of September, on the 29th, there is a fairly large assignment that's due, and it's quite heavily weighted in terms of your overall assessments for this module. So I'm just going to refer to it here. Your formative task. I see I don't have it right in front of me. Would anybody like here at the moment to request and chat about the requirements of this particular assignment?
Dr. Thatcher, just a reminder, our students watching on YouTube, and I see we've got one student watching on YouTube currently, they experience the live stream at about a 25-second delay. So we sometimes have to give them just a little bit of extra time.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
But not to worry, I'll alert you as to any comments or questions that come through.
Okay. We'll just wait for 1 or 2 minutes to see if anybody's got any queries or would like to chat about the actual module as a whole. All right. I will give you time towards the end of this session to ask your questions. What I'm going to move on to now, I think let's just take a look at the assignment that's due at the end of September. I will have a video that I will prepare that will guide you through the assignment in more detail. But at the moment, let's just cast our eyes over this assignment and just think about what is really required here. For this assignment that's due on the 29th of September, and that's for 100 marks, so the weighting is a lot more than your formative task on the health and safety assignment. You're going to be looking at designing and planning the grade R teaching and learning environment. Now, you are in a fortunate position because you are teaching every day. So if you are not particularly focused on the grade R teaching, which you should be, I think 1 or 2 of you might be teaching in grade RR, which is the grade double naught year. It's the year before entry into grade R. But you should have some idea of what the grade R learning and teaching environment is about. You've also done the ECD module in your first year of study, so you will be au fait with providing a learning environment that actually develops the whole child. So you've got your indoor classrooms and you've got your outdoor. It's not a classroom, but it's an outdoor learning environment. And depending on your own teaching and learning experience at the moment, you will be involved in slightly different learning environments to one another. Bearing in mind that the indoor learning environment is very important, you need to just take a look at what you actually prepare for the learners every day in that learning environment. We all know that children have free play, where you set up the environment for the children indoors and outdoors. And within that environment, you have specific teaching and learning tasks that the children can engage in. With regard to that daily program, that from day to day is pretty similar, you will have times with your own students, your own learners, where you have your own particular teacher activity directed experiences. Experiences like music, you will have outdoor movement, which we can also call physical education, where you take them outdoors. You will also have your singing activities with your students. And like I've said, each learning environment will be slightly different. What we are finding in the Grade R learning environment, you've got your CAPS document, and they are very clear, and we did put that daily program in for you in your study guides to bring you back to what is required in a balanced learning program for our learners. We do know that some of our learners are exposed to formal reading. There's nothing much you can do in terms of saying, well, it's not appropriate for these learners at this time. We all do the basics of phonics in Grade R. So you've got that free play environment every day, which is their choice to be where they would like to be during that free play opportunity. And then you've got your own specific teaching and learning environment where you just have your own group and you have the more formal or focused tasks with your learners. That can be focused, like I've already said, on your music. You should also have your language lessons with your students. You should have those storytelling sessions at the end of the morning. You might want to relate those story sessions to the learning of phonics, where you can actually have a story that links in with a particular sound. And the outdoor learning environment is just as important. And what we are finding in the learning environments is that the free play time for Grade R learners might be reduced in that Grade R year, where you might find your own learners are subjected to informal assessments to assess their readiness to go into Grade 1. Now you need to go back into your learning environment that you are designing for the children's learning, and you can construct your ideal environment. You are now involved with your learners. You know that there could be improvements in the program. You've got your CAPS document that we have referred you back to, which you should be pretty au fait with now in your final year of your diploma. And put on your management glasses and say, if I was the head of department of this Grade R unit, what would I do to improve the teaching and learning and development of my learners? We also know that we don't just readily hold back those learners and say they're not ready to go into Grade 1. The progression now is really automatic. And what you can do when you feed into the Grade 1 in the primary school where you are is to provide guidance to those teachers as to where your learners are. So basically, if we get back to the assessment itself and the actual rubric of this assessment, let me go through it with you. You need to do some research. Go into websites, and what I will do is I will try and source websites for you. We're going to find that there's not much information in the South African learning environment. So we can look at websites overseas, but ideally we need to look at our own students in the South African context. So that's worth 20 marks, and you need to aim for that excellent section in that learning rubric. The next one is the indoor classroom design there. How would you plan your own indoor learning environment? Basically, you might have each Grade R unit that has got their mini learning environment within your own classroom area, or you might have your own home-based areas, and you might share the bigger learning environment of the free play interaction there with your learners. that is also worth your 20 marks. And then we go out and into the outdoor environment, and we look at the design of that environment. Now, depending on your needs and your community and the context of the situation of your primary school, you need to look at, is there a particular environment that your grade R learners can go into outdoors, or is it shared with grades 1, 2, and 3? In some private school institutions and primary public school institutions, you might have that learning environment shared with the other grades, maybe grade 1, maybe not so much grade 2 and 3. But once again, you need to plan what you think is ideal for your grade R learners. So they would need to go out in a certain time of the day where maybe the other foundation phase learners are not exposed to, so that you can provide a particular environment there. Do you put out sensopathic play activities? We know water play. Now with water restrictions, you might not be able to put that out every day. But how else can you enrich that outdoor learning environment? What can you do? You will have formal structures outside that are fixed, your climbing equipment, and there you've got to do your safety checks, which will come into your health and safety formative task that's coming up for next week. But how can you design that environment outdoors to enrich it, to encourage that physical development? We know that the large muscle development of our learners is very important. We need to build up the upper torso, and we need to provide them with swinging and climbing and balancing and all sorts of other different activities. It need not be fixed, but one day you can put the balls out for them to have a little soccer game. The next day you might put out an old curtain where they can make their own tent, and they can climb up and they can tie the aspects of that to their outdoor equipment to make a home environment outdoors where they can also fantasize. And you found the language development, the emotional and social development in particular comes to the fore in the learners' emotional and social development overall in the grade R learning program. We must not forget that emotional and social development, and you need to cast your ear and listen to how the children are playing, how they're sharing, what arguments they're having, and that's where you need to intervene and mediate and make sure that the learning environment outdoors is also safe, it doesn't become too rough, and that's where your discipline also needs to come in, and you need to step in and intervene, and you need to balance out that free play learning and make sure that the children are playing together in a happy environment where they're all developing their confidence and their independence. Then the next section in that assignment is justifying your indoor and your learning outdoor designs, why you think your design is important. So basically, if I look at the rubric there, we look at the holistic development, the intellectual, the cognitive, one and the same, language development under cognitive, emotional and social, and basically their physical development. Physical, large muscles, and small muscle development in terms of getting them to refine their fine motor skills, so that when they do go into grade 1 and they need to sit at a table and learn to form the letters, etc., that their development is balanced. The cognitive is not more important than the emotional and social, because if they're not emotionally and socially ready, they're not going to be able to absorb all the content, which we know and we call the school readiness program, which is the maths element, and we've got the language element there of the phonics, and maybe some of the sight reading. But we need to make sure that the children are ready to learn and are not forced before they are ready. So, you know, this assignment is going to make you think. There's no one assignment. I don't have a model answer. What I'm looking for with you is your experience in grade R. What are you finding? In your experience during your studies for your diploma, how could you create the perfect learning environment if you had the resources? What would you look at? We all know that you can make your own resources as well, but your outdoor learning environment has normally got fixtures which you need to monitor in terms of health and safety. How safe is that? How safe is that equipment? Is it in good working order, etc.? Like with every other assignment, there will always be a section on your referencing. You're in your third year now. So when you're doing research for any assignment, not only this one, where are you getting your information from? As students, you are still learning. You might refer to your study guide. You might refer to your prescribed book. You might refer to your first year of your early childhood development, which also incorporates grade R. Grade R is there. It's just the year after from birth to 5. So you need to call up all that information. And as you are talking to me about your designs, you can then quote somebody or say, in my own experience at this school, this is what I would put forward in my own design. So once again, what I will do, I will put forward that video to you. There is a reading, which is a recommended reading. It's quite old now, but it's really good practice. And they talk about the indoor and outdoor learning environment. So I will make sure that it's up there for you to access. It's got really good photographs that you can take a look at. It's developed by the Department of Basic Education. And while it's dated 2008, there's some good practice in there. Your CAPS documentation, don't forget you can reference that, because the people that have put that together are people that have done research in grade R. So if they say do this and do that, and we recommend you do this, you can use those, you can use that information and you can quote your CAPS document. And then just to remind you, and I'm sure you're doing it anyway, whatever you quote in the text, in your assignment, don't forget to put that same quote, but you've got to do the full reference list at the end of your assignment. And then once again, your structure of your assignment, your language and your grammar, we always award you with marks there. And so for this particular assignment, it's 10 marks, which is 10%, and the same for your referencing. So going forward for September, that's what we're looking at. And the next 2 assignments, the one is an online test. I will certainly guide you with that, where you can have the time to go through your material and answer questions. But that's a long way away. It's at the end of October. And I see the next one is a finance one, a formative assessment task in October. And I've asked you to have a look at getting storybooks and listing those. And if you had a little budget, how you could have an input there. So I'm not going to go into the October assessment tasks in too much detail now. I'd like to go back to where we are and see if any of you have got any questions to ask at this stage.
Dr. Thatcher, yes, we've got a question here from Anonymous who asks, with respect to the research component of the assignment, how many references should students be aiming for? Anonymous adds that they've currently got 2 references. Is that enough?
Yes, I think in a diploma module of this nature, 2 references are enough. In terms of maybe outside research that you've done, don't forget, and it depends on what your referencing skills are like. You can always interview somebody that's in the primary school. You might have a head of department that has got a lot of experience in grade R, but has moved into managing the whole grade R, which is grades 1, 2, and 3. I will guide you with your referencing booklet. Go back, I do. Because these days we use a lot of internet referencing techniques. What we provide for you in that booklet is a guideline. As long as you are consistent in the way in which you use your references, that will be acknowledged. So for me, 2 is ample to look at research, because I really want you to look at 2 good articles and see what influence that has had on your essay in your assignment. And if you do know anybody in the Department of Education that can assist you, that can also be acknowledged as a source of reference. So it would be more an interview where you could sit and chat to somebody about their knowledge. For example, I've got I've accumulated about 17 years as a pre-primary school principal, and grade R was always part of that. And so I learned to manage the whole component there. So it's like a student coming to me to say, Dr. Thatcher, I'd like to interview you for this particular topic. I've got a project to do. Can you provide me with information? And then I would be that source. Pardon me, obviously I can't do it for your assignment now, but feel free to engage with the people in your schools, because I'm sure you've been there for the last 3 years. So you've got people that are well informed, and it might even be somebody in that grade R unit. It depends on how your units are structured. Some schools have a head of department of grade R. Other primary schools, big primary schools, have an umbrella person that manages grade R as well as grades 1, 2, and 3. So it just depends there. Feel free, be creative, be innovative. I'm not looking for any boxed-in research. It's also your own experience and your own experience in research and while you've been at the school, but it's good to get a backup there from somebody that you've chatted to. So use them. Use that person's name with their permission, and then just have a look at the referencing booklet to see how to do the in-text referencing, and then reference that whole reference in your reference list.
Dr. Thatcher, thank you. Another anonymous question. The question is, how does one identify someone suitable to interview if someone is referenced or someone is interviewed that is deemed not suitable? Can students lose marks?
Okay, I think I've heard that correctly. Obviously, you wouldn't interview somebody that you thought wasn't suitable. You've got to look at somebody that you know has had experience maybe in grade R. So let's take it out of your school. And maybe you know somebody out there that has been running their own preschool with grade R. Go and interview them. There's nothing to stop you. You've come to the end of your studies virtually now, so you've got a pretty good idea of what good practice is and what is not so good. So as professionals in the making, when you get this qualification, you will be recognized. You need now to source the best research, just to back up how you feel. I think all of us have come through teacher training and been in schools, and there are people that we go back to and think, I remember when I was with that person and this is what she taught me. So feel free to interview that person. You can do your own Zoom recording and use that as information. I'm wanting you to look at our context here in South Africa. I do believe that the material that we're writing for our distance learning students for grade R is based on really good practice. I was part of that many years ago, but obviously I couldn't be involved in all the modules. But you know what's good and what could be improved. So, you know, in a school setup, we work with people and we have to be professional enough and tactful and know, well, that's not how I want to be. This is what I want to do. And then source the person that you need to.
Anonymous says, thank you for your insight.
Thank you, Anonymous. I wish you would give me your names. I need to know you by your first names. But going forward, I understand. We're just a small group. So I was wanting, well, we can maybe in our dialogue on ECI. You also know that I'm very active on my email, but we need to use the ECI a little more, and I'll come to that before we end off. I need to know what you need on your ECI pages going forward and how you've managed your studies to date as third-year students. But I will come to that, and Simon is going to remind me before we finish the session on what your real needs are.
I will remind you, Dr. Thatcher.
Thank you, dear. No other questions at this stage? Okay, I'm going to take the bull by the horns here and say to you, on your ECI page, I know that I summarized the first unit for you. It was a PowerPoint. So I can put a PowerPoint in that is very animated, or I can just save it as a PDF where you just use it to highlight the main points of your lesson 1. I'm busy with your lesson 2. I've looked at a PowerPoint that somebody else created. And I would like to redo that and make it more useful for you, because I know there's no exam, but it's going to help you for your online test, which is going to be quite a big test. So when you summarize a unit, the way in which we construct our distance learning study guides, I talk to you and then I say, think about this. And you've got that little bubble. We all use that. It's generic. And then I put in writing activities, and I didn't put the answers into those writing activities that I've asked you to do, because I want you to think about things. And sometimes there's no one real answer. I can put those in and put in all the answers there for you. You need to tell me what you need. Sorry, Simon. Oh, there was a bell. I'm not sure. Okay. So I need to be guided by you. And if you're not going to respond to that to me today, just send an email. Because I need Bethuel. Okay. Hello, Bethuel. Are you the next person? Sorry, Simon.
No problem, Dr. Thatcher. I think Bethel was just dropping in to see how we were doing.
Okay. Hi. So students, I need to be guided by you. You're not first year students that you need step-by-step guidance. If you do, I'm happy to do that. What I will say with the module is that in the prescribed reading, the book, I've got the big manual because I was asked to review it before they finalized their second publication. So I've got this big book, and I know that you've got to look at the page numbers that I refer you to. And sometimes you need to go ahead and then come back because we can't see this module in isolation. It's not like each lesson stands on its own. The law of education, which is your next unit, which is unit 3 or lesson 3, not lesson 3, yes, lesson 3, study session 2. You need to take a look at that and see how it informs you. I don't want you to say, oh, do we need to know all this? This is ridiculous. But we're governed by the law today, and we need to ensure that our young learners are in a healthy and safe environment, and that we, as future leaders, you are guided by the policies of the Department of Education. And things like parent partnerships, we're going to come to that. And that's a tricky one, because not all of us engage our parents. Some of our parents just drop their students off in the morning, leave them. But we need to develop some sort of relationship there, and you need to just be guided by what is the best way for communicating with your parents. Are they all able to read newsletters? Do you send out newsletters? Is everything online now where people just go on and there's an electronic newsletter? How do we communicate with our parents when might be a little problem with their child? You're just sitting in as a grade R, not sitting in, but you're training to be a grade R teacher, but you've also got a line manager, and you always need to involve that line manager and go to them with any problems that you have. You should be involved in little staff meetings where you can talk about some of the problems that you are experiencing and how do you go forward, and bring in the parent. Always have your line manager with you so that you know that you're offering that parent sound information, and you've got your line manager there to bring in their own experience and help you work together. That parent partnership, and that's what it is a real partnership. And it's part of government legislation at the moment. You might not be involved in governing body meetings at the moment, but one day you are going to be. And you need to find out how your school operates. So if you sitting in grade R right at the end of the first foundation phase step, and you've got your principal in the school, of that whole big school, how are you all involved in that management, and how does that devolve down to the level where you are? You are the bedrock of education for your learners. Some of you might be in a school where it's a full component of preschool, and I'm saying great, because I've always run a school where I've had 2-year-olds all the way through to 6. But at the moment, this is grade R specifically, but just put on your big hat, and whatever you posed in any of your assessments is to use your own experience and be innovative. The rubrics are there to guide us as a marker, But when I mark, I always mark out the box. And if I know somebody has really thought about what they're doing and they can justify everything, that's what I need. It's not just about passing this module. I want you to say, like I did when I studied all those years ago, I want to be a principal of a school. I knew that I wanted to go into management. I wanted to be there to engage with parents, to engage with staff, and to provide a rich experience for my learners. And what you're doing at the moment is so important. What you're doing every day is so important with your learners. You're like their surrogate guardian. They come to you and they hang on to every word. And we've been in a very difficult situation this year. And so more than ever, we need to work together, stick together, and bring our parents on board as well. It's not the only section, obviously, in this whole module. It's the health and safety. It's the whole learning environment. And it's about working with other staff members as well. So I'm going to be guided by you. You can ask me any questions. Some of you might decide you don't want to work through the study guide from lesson 1 right to the end. You don't have to. There's no order here because everything is so well integrated, especially in your last year. But the reason why we've got this module is to say, yes, you are a teacher. You are going to be a grade R teacher, but this is what management's about. And going forward, we need really good leaders in our schools. They manage, but to lead, that's the crux of the matter. Where you go out there and it's that personal involvement with your parents, with the rest of the staff. It's about making a difference in a school and being at the forefront of education for the 21st century. So I don't know how many minutes we've got left, but I wish you well. But this is the beginning of our journey together. So just to wrap up here, I'm going to open the portal for the health formative assessment task. And then what I will do is I will continue to put on the summaries of the different lessons. If you would need PowerPoint, which is quite hard to say because it's quite big, it's easier to PDF it. The videos for the assessments, that will be a video so I can interact with you again. And yeah, we're well into our semester. So before we know it, the year will be out, but we have no final exam. So that online test at the end of October will be quite an important one. And of course, I'm here to guide you every step of the way. So thank you for today. I don't know if there are any further questions. Simon, how are we with time?
Dr. Thatcher, we've still got about 10 minutes left in the session if you'd like to use that much. And we haven't got any further questions or comments as yet. We will just give our audience watching on YouTube a couple of extra seconds.
Okay. I've just got the study guide here. I just want to have a look at some of the other units. Okay. Managing teaching. I've virtually covered everything. You can see that the managing of teaching and learning is quite important. So it goes over more than, well, lesson 4 is quite a big one. Managing the parent partnerships, I've just covered that. The last one was lesson 6, and it's not that big, but everybody's got administration to do. I have administration every day in my particular role as a head of department. And you will have different experiences in your schools on how to plan. I don't know how you are planning your lessons, whether you do planning day by day, or whether you do a kind of a landscape forecast, which works well in the school Monday to Friday, and you divide up your daily program with free play, maybe your school readiness, which we still call in terms of your maths and your phonics is your language development, and how you plot that. So I don't know what's involved there with you. So with this section, you might find it's a bit dry. What's linked to this section is the finance, and your next formative task is on finance. You might say to me, oh, I'm not involved with the money in the school, but I know that you've been teaching there for 3 years and you know what you need in that school. I don't know what budget you get in grade R. I think the department pay the teachers that are teaching, that's part of their contribution to the budget. But you always need things like storybooks, and they won't just fall out of the sky. You can't always just rely on donations. You might be able to, if you've got contacts there, get people to donate books. They don't have to be brand new, but you've got to expose your learners to good language. And that comes through storytelling and reading good storybooks. I don't know whether you made any big books in grade R in this particular qualification, but we talk about big books where you teach the children how to read and you do it together using literally a big book. And how it works in grade R is you can make a big book and that's your storytelling. You tell them the story and then you go through it with them. And they will start to pick up words. You will have words in your class. They do need to know how to identify different words. But back to the financial task here is to get you to really think about the budget. And if you were given a budget, how would you spend that budget? And you need to put your hats on there and say, well, in my school, this is what we're needing. And you will know what the needs are in your particular context. So it relates to where you are, how the school is running. You might find that you've got no budget in grade R, but you should have one. And how could you best spend that money to improve the teaching and learning in your school? So I've covered administration there and partnerships. Yeah, I'm going to shoot back to lesson 2, which is the next unit that I've started to work on for you. You might find it a bit dry, and that's your study session 1, lesson 2, where you are going to see names of people from other countries that were involved in early childhood education years ago. But we've never forgotten those people because they have made inroads. And so we say those people all those years ago knew what they were doing. And what we've done is we've tried to take the best of the international perspective, because let's face it, that's where we've got all the research from, to say, what did these people contribute all those years ago? And, Howard Gardner, I don't know whether you've done your psychology module yet, but he's come about with, different types of intelligences, where it's not just how clever you are, and it's the cognitive intelligence. What other intelligences are there out there? And he's possibly the most recent person. And so there are names there. And I'm busy with that unit now at the moment to give you a slide, a PowerPoint, which I'll PDF. And just to give you a list of the people and what they've contributed, that's what you've got to say. Okay, that person, so what? He lived all these years ago, but what was his contribution? Because today, we've tried to take the best out of research out there and put it into our own program here in South Africa. Because at the end of the day, it's developing the whole child in grade R. And once you give them that foundation, they take that learning, and you've got these little balanced people that go into grade 1, they're confident, they're independent, and they can go and they can learn from there. And that's just one word I would like to leave you with today, is the emotional and social side. As adults, we all know we might have it here, we've got it here. But if we're not confident and we're not feeling good about ourselves, we're not going to achieve our true potential. So it holds true for all of us. And so that holistic development's got to be balanced. So don't forget, it's not just about filling in all the workbooks. We know that the CAPS documents have got workbooks, and we say that's fine. But let's explore things hands-on with the learners initially, and then we can follow up with all that written work. So just remember that. So your unit 2, some of the sections will be left out in your reading. So what you need to do is to look at your study guide. Your study guide is kind of the Bible. I talk to you and then we look at the book. Then we go back to the study guide. Then we've got a task to do. Then you've got your own activities to fill in. And it's talking to you and guiding you through that. It's not about rote learning. It's about really taking in what you're doing and saying, now I know why I'm studying what I'm studying, because it's going to make me a better educator and a leader and a manager one day. Okay. I think we're on track almost. Simon?
Yes, Dr. Thatcher, we've got about 3 minutes left.
All right. I'm going to reiterate again, everybody. Get back to me after today. You can email me because I generally work on a Sunday later on in the afternoon. I can go back. I will be going on to ECR and I will be putting in some of the units there as well. But remember that this module is going to shape you for the future. So I am looking for distinctions from all 6 of you, and you will get there. You're going to look at your own experience as grade R teachers and say, now I'm going to put on my leadership and management hat, and I'm going to take the best out of this module, and I'm going to continue to study and become a leader and a manager and maybe a big school one day. Thanks, everyone.
Dr. Thatcher, you did ask for a reminder about potentially using your discussion forum on ECI.
Yes, I will use that discussion forum. Maybe that's the best way to go about it. But I need the information from you. I'll make sure that should be open. So you need to get used to talking to me on that forum. Talking to each other is more important. And from that, you can engage. You can certainly learn from one another. I haven't checked to see where everybody comes from as yet. I just know that one of our students lives in Moy River, and I happen to just chat to her because she works in a school there. So you can certainly get together with one another. I don't know what your relationship has been like throughout your 3 years of study. And I know that this is your last leg of getting your diploma, but we can certainly strike up a conversation and interact with each other on that discussion forum on ECI.
And Dr. Thatcher, am I right in saying your email address is on your ECI site as well? So students are welcome to email you?
No, it's there. Simon, I did, or Mr. Goldstone, I did email them initially before they were actually enrolled. I just got their email addresses and I emailed them and just said that everything was going to be set up and etc., which it is. So they have got that. I've had 1 or 2 students email me if they've had a problem, and we've sorted that out.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Thatcher. Well, we thank you for a lovely start to our day's program and a very informative session, and we wish you a lovely weekend ahead.
Yes, same to you, everybody, and to you. Simon. Do I switch off now, Simon? Yeah.
Yes, you can. Thanks, Dr. Thatcher.
Thank you.